All right, so I thought I would show everyone how to build a lesson in Nearpod. I've had a few weeks to really experiment with it, and I think I have a pretty good process down. So, what I want to build this lesson on is how to give students an overview of elements and the atom, and then get them to draw something called Bohr models and to write these things called isotope symbols. So the first thing I did was I made a Google Slides presentation that has basically the slides that I would want to show in class if I was explaining something. So here's my intro slide, and I start with helium as an example. So I want these slides to be presented at different times throughout the lesson. So there's a way in Nearpod you can build a lesson and import these slides. So I'm going to start from scratch here, and I'm going to click New. And you can do a lesson in Nearpod, which is my preference. You can also do a lesson in Google Slides and link to a Nearpod activity. Like I said, my preference is lesson in Nearpod. So here we start with a blank slate, and a lot of teachers, I think, like to start with an activity. Some teachers might also start with presenting information. So I'm actually going to start with an activity, and I'm going to make it a draw it. So with these activities, I have a variety I can do. A fun type quiz. I've put this in the presentation or Nearpods before. I haven't actually used them. I think the couple times I tried, I skipped over them because I ran out of time. I've done lots of open-ended questions. Matching pairs is great. It's just like it sounds. They have little quizzes, collaborate boards, polls, fill in the blanks, especially with my ESOL students. But I'm going to do a draw it here. So the drawback here, no pun intended, is that it's really hard to draw with the Chromebooks and with most people's computers. So this is really ideal if they have an iPad with an Apple Pencil, which probably nobody does. But the instructions here will be to draw a picture of a carbon atom. And I sort of always start with this. In the classroom, I start with this on paper and pencil. And this is a pre-assessment before we've learned anything in our class, kind of based on what they've learned outside of school, what they've learned in middle school. I want to look for an image of carbon on the periodic table. Basically, I want them to be able to access this, what the box that they would see if they saw carbon on the periodic table. So while I'm recording this video, I probably shouldn't be too picky about which one I'm picking. Of course, I'm not listening to myself, but I'm just going to go with this one's great. Okay, so they have the picture there to look at. This number 6 is what they need. This number 12 is helpful. Draw a picture of a carbon atom. So that's my first thing. I'm not going to add a timer. When we're on that Nearpod slide, I'm going to see everybody's drawings up at once. They're going to be kind of on a screen like this with little boxes, but the boxes will be smaller, and I'll be able to see what everyone's drawing pretty much on one screen. Maybe it's more like two screens, and I'd have to scroll down. So I've done that, and then after they've done an activity, I want to add some slides because then I'll explain something. So I click this convenient little Google Drive icon. And I've just made this presentation, so I don't really have to search around because it's nice and fresh. If I did make it a long time ago, I'd probably want to search for the file in this box. Okay, so something that you'll notice is that it copied all of the slides here into one little chunk. And I might not want to present that whole chunk right now. I might just want to use probably probably maybe just like four of the slides. So something I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back here now that I have a plan. I want to copy all of these slides because I'm going to paste them again. Okay. And here, I want to get rid of the two that I am not going to use right now. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those. Okay, so I'm going to present these first four slides as one chunk. And then here, this is something I'll use later on in the presentation or in the lesson. And I don't want these four slides. So I'm going to delete those. So this second slideshow is really just these two slides. And then in between these two presentations, I'm going to work in some activities. I'm going to work in some videos. So if I want to, after this slideshow, if I want to show a video, then I could find a video on YouTube. So I've already pre-selected. This is kind of like a basic overview of what's in an atom. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that link. And then, you know what? I probably want to do that before my presentation. So after they draw an atom, I'm going to add a slide here. And I am going to put in a video. Now, I can use this link, and it'll actually let me interrupt the video to ask the students a question. So I'm going to go ahead and try that just to show you. Okay, I'm going to use a YouTube video. So it's taking me to Nearpod and showing me all of the videos that it has. I can search for a video in the Nearpod library, but I found one on YouTube. So I'm going to click that. I'm just going to paste my YouTube link in there. And here's that video that I found. Okay, so I'm going to save that. Now, I'm just going to play a little bit of this video. Probably I wouldn't put a question so soon. I would put maybe a question a third of the way, and then 2/3 of the way, and maybe one at the end. But I'm going to go ahead and just play a little bit of this video and then ask a question very soon to show you the idea.
Atomic structure. In this video, we're going to go over atomic structure in a very simplistic and basic way. Atoms are the basic unit of chemical elements. They contain subatomic particles in their nucleus and in the electron.
Okay, so it just said that the atoms are the basic unit of elements. So I could do an open-ended question, or I could do a multiple choice. So this is definitely not the question I would ask, but you get the idea. So what are the basic units of an element? So I'm going to put electrons, atoms, that's the right answer. Protons, or molecules. Students confuse atoms and molecules a lot. All right, so I'm going to save that. And so again, I could add activities throughout, but to like questions, but I'm just going to stop there because I'm showing you how this works. All right, so here's my video. where I can embed these questions. Okay, and then I'm going to present my first slideshow there. After that slideshow, let's just look at it because I kind of forget at this point. So this is saying we're going to talk about atomic structure, protons, neutrons, and electrons. I have some models of atoms right here. Helium is the element in party balloons, and it has this box you'd see on the periodic table. There's a 2 there and a 4 there. So this lesson's all about what those numbers mean for helium. Why is helium element number 2? It's hard to read, but I think it says, let's see what it actually says. Every atom of helium has 2 protons. And that's called the atomic number, that number 2 there, 2 protons for helium. So it's these first 4 slides that I included. So I'm thinking I just taught this concept, so now I'm going to need to make sure my students understand. Okay, so I am going to add a slide, and I'm going to do an activity. I don't know that this is the one I'd pick, but I really want to show you this matching pair, show you how that works. All right, so, I'm a chemistry teacher. I have this in my head, but you'd want to look this up. So I'm going to write carbon, an atom with, well, it's an element with atoms, but I'm just going to say an atom with 6 protons, and that would be carbon. I'm going to add another pair. Calcium, an atom with 20 protons. Nitrogen. So I'm picking elements that they've heard of because they're just starting out in chemistry here. Nitrogen, an atom with 7 protons. I hope I'm not getting any of these wrong. That would be embarrassing. And then let's throw an easy one in here. Helium, an atom with 2 protons. And I think if they do 5 of these, they're really going to get the point. Let's see. Neon lights. There you go. An atom with 10 protons. So when they're doing this, they could have a periodic table as a reference. It would be nice if there was a picture here where I could add a periodic table. They don't have that. But maybe when they're actually doing the activity, that would mess up the view, and that's why they don't have that. But match the element with its description. All right, so I'm going to save that. So far we have built a lesson that has students drawing, and I'll be able to see their drawings as they do them. We have a video with embedded questions in there to make sure they're engaged during the video, and I'll be able to see their answers as they pop up. I'll also be able to see what percentage of students answer. I have Google Slides that I made thrown in there. And then I have a matching activity. So I want my matching activity to be next. And then let's see. What else did I want to teach them in this lesson? Okay, so I want to teach them how to draw a Bohr model. So I found another video, and that's this one. That's how to draw a Bohr model. So I'm not going to add questions in there because I already showed you how to do that. I might do that later on after I finish recording this video. Content. So I'm going to add a video. And I'm just going to put in that YouTube link and not ask any questions right now. But you can always change your mind or do it later. if you just want to, frame everything out. Sometimes it's good to get stuff down and just add to it as you go, as you have time. So no activities. I'm just saving this. And at any time, if you're doing a Nearpod and you decide, you know what, I don't need to show a video, I'm just going to explain this to the students, you could do that too. The nice thing about putting in videos like this, where you would normally explain something, is you can do two settings. You can do live participation, or you can do student paced. And if you do student paced, that could be outside of class. If a student missed a lesson, they could have a similar experience with explanations, even though they weren't there. So I show them how to draw a Bohr model. And now I'm realizing that I really only want one of these. So I really don't want to talk about isotope notation yet. I want to go over this slide that explains, after they watch the video, another slide that explains and gives an example for how you draw a Bohr model. So this is a Bohr model for helium. Okay. And then for the second slideshow, I don't want that Bohr model slide because I've already taught that. So now I have just one slide here and one slide here, and then I need to put an activity in between. And as a chemistry team, we talked about how we really wanted to get students drawing things. So, and their drawings don't have to be pretty. So it really works nicely on Nearpod here because we don't care about how good the drawings look. So this is interesting. I'm getting an idea as I do this. So if I want them to draw a Bohr model, I could upload a background image and I can just search for an image here. This is beautiful. Sometimes it's not exactly what you want, but I'm just going to type in blank Bohr model. And the advantage of that is they don't have to draw all these little rings. So this is great. I mean, it doesn't look the best graphics wise, but it's exactly what I want. I want rings, and I want them to be able to just write the number of protons and neutrons and not have to draw anything really. The only thing they're going to have to draw on here, they're going to write, and they're going to write the number, and they're going to of protons and neutrons, and they're going to draw dots around these rings for the electrons. So I'm going to say draw a Bohr model for a carbon atom. Doesn't need to be capitalized. And I'm realizing now I need to be specific, right? I need to say which type of carbon atom. So I'm going to say a carbon-12 atom for a neutral carbon-12 atom. So chemistry is tricky. We have all these important little details here. So neutral just means it's got the same number of protons and electrons. And carbon-12 tells me that there are going to be 6 neutrons as opposed to some other kind of carbon. So there you go. I have that. And the nice thing about this now is, let's say I want to do 3 practice problems. So I can actually copy and paste, copy and paste. So I now have 3 of these, and I can make 3 practice problems with very little work. So they made a carbon atom. Now I'm going to say draw a Bohr model for a neutral, let's say oxygen 16 atom. Actually, let's do 18 because then the number of protons and neutrons will be different. And then for one last one, I'll do calcium 19. So So I just have to click on this one that I had made a copy of. Calcium 19. There we go. Save that. All right, so it's really not taking that long. I just got 3 practice problems that'll be engaging for the students. I'll be able to track their work. And then to end here, we're going to talk about isotope notation. So again, I have one more video, a YouTube video. And you hear my daughter in the background. So again, video. I'm not going to search for a video, although we have a subscription as MCPS to all of the Nearpod materials. There might be someone who's already created this lesson, and it's a really good lesson, and I could really just use that, or I could start with their lesson and I could edit it, and I could add in activities or delete things that I don't like. So that's actually something that's really nice that MCPS has purchased for us, because I've already used lessons that I didn't really have to make. They were already there. I did this week. So I have this video, and then I have this slide explaining isotope notation. And then one last time, I am going to have them draw. They'll be tired of drawing at this point, but that's okay. And I'm sure you get the point of you get the idea of copying and pasting practice problems and just changing the problems a little bit. So I'm not going to do that here, but I'd probably do, again, 3 practice problems. And I'm going to say, draw the isotope notation for a neutral carbon 12 atom, linking it back to that first problem. And there's really not that much to draw. They just draw the letter C and 2 numbers. So I'm not going to add a background in there. I guess I could have made it interesting with an image of carbon, showing what carbon is in the real world, like the lead of a pencil or a diamond. So they did that. I can assess that. I could ask a multiple choice question or some kind of quiz at the end if I wanted to, just to make sure they've understood everything. I could do a fill in the blank summary. I could do a poll asking them how they feel about what they've learned. I'm going to end with a collaborate board. So, and I want everyone to see everyone else's examples. So I'm going to say, please share with the class an example of an isotope and say, oh, I should have this in the description because it really limits your, I'm going to say isotope example share out. So please share with the class an example of an isotope of an element and say how many protons, neutrons, and electrons it has. No repeats allowed. So I want each person in the class to come up with a different one. So that'll be our exit card for the lesson. There you go. So I think that is a pretty robust lesson that will flow well. I could preview it and you could see what it looks like for the students. And there's something called teacher view and student view. And really you need to kind of try a lesson for yourself and see what that's like. So here's my atom. It's beautiful. I have protons. I have electrons. You know, I'm a good artist. So. But the students might have a tough time. And then here's the video. When the video gets to here, it's going to stop and ask that question. Here are my slides. Something to note about the slides is if you post the slides like I do, then it's going to post these as a cluster, and the students can flip through these themselves. So you can't necessarily control which slide a student is looking at. If you really want to control which slide a student is on, then you have to post these as separate slides. So like a new Nearpod slide for each individual slide if you want to do it that way. I prefer not to do it that way because I think it's too much work. Here was that matching pair. So an atom with 2 protons, that would be my helium. Oh, so I click these 2. Yay, I got it right. So it does tell the students if they're right. Calcium, 20. All right. And then, so after they finish that, there's another video. Here's a slide to explain something, and then they're drawing for carbon 12. So that's going to have 6 protons and 6 neutrons. And then I'm going to draw 2 electrons on the first ring, and then 4. I have a touch screen. What am I doing? There we go. Oh. 4. There we go. Okay. So a little easier on a touch screen. So remember, I did 3 examples of those. Another video, and then a slide where I'm explaining something. And then the isotope notation for carbon 12. So carbon with a mass of 12 and 6 protons. So you'll be able to see those drawings as students are completing them in real time. And then here they are sharing out, and they will see each other's responses. So I'm going to save and exit. And then I have to title it. So this is atomic structure. And this is for grade 10. This is science. Save and exit. And if I want to use this in a live class session where I'm controlling which slide everyone is on, then I will do live participation. So I'm launching this new live participation, and I can generate a link here. And this is what I would share with students, this link. The alternative is I could do a student-paced lesson. And it's the same thing. I give them a link, and they will be able to control it themselves. So that would be something to give outside of class asynchronously. I hope this was helpful, and please let me know if you have any questions.